Hello and welcome. I am Annette Reeder from thebiblicalnutritionist.com, and today it's all about answering your questions. And the questions that you have submitted today are all about the fasting benefits for the body. This is really good because you're starting to really deep dive into the questions to stir up and question what you've been believing for your entire life and say, wait a minute, does that really agree with God's word? Because remember, just as we are spiritual, we are physical. And just as we are physical, we are spiritual. And together, they create who we are individually. So I can't wait to get started. But before we do, go ahead and hit the like button, the subscribe, and share this with your friends and your church members and just everyone you know, because we live in a time where we need our health today more than ever. We need our mental clarity. We need to be solid on God's word and understand what it means for us. And that's what we're here for, is to help you make that connection and really be able to live in victory every single day of your life. All right, I'm starting to preach, and I don't want to preach because I want to answer your questions. So also notice that we are a nonprofit. If you'd like to help support this nonprofit, we'll have a link down below. Even just $3 a month makes a big difference in helping us get our message out around the world. Question number 1. How do I stay on track when I will be the only one doing the diet? This was submitted by Jess Turner. If I could ask you questions, such as I do in the Inner Circle coaching group, I would say, how many people are in the family? What type of food do they enjoy? And then from there, we could set out a plan that's not overly hard, and you can work in some incredible dinner options. I would also ask, what do you mean by diet? Now, when I started eating this, I'm an all-in person. Let's go for it. Let's ram the door. I don't tiptoe when I'm faced with a crisis. So if I knew in my heart this was right and God confirmed it, then it wouldn't matter if I was cooking for 100 people. I would make this work for me. I believe instead of focusing on how do I stay on track to how do I keep my food so that no one else wants to join me. My food is so delicious, they usually want a bite, and then they want another bite. So if I'm doing the Daniel fast, which is how we started our journey, we felt so good. People were asking, hey, what are you doing? And there was no, oh, you're doing that diet again. There was no, well, when are you going to move on from that? It was instead, well, what are you doing to have that pep in your step? Or the conversation would come about to cholesterol. And I would just tell them, hey, we lowered our cholesterol, my husband's cholesterol, in 1 month. And then they ask, well, how did you do that? And I tell them. So they no longer saw my new eating as she's dieting again. Instead, they said, well, how can I do that? What recipes can you share? So the answer to your question is not how do I stay on track, it's how do I keep people from bothering me about my results. I can't get any work done because people keep calling and writing. So let's change our focus. If we focus on, I just can't do this, my family won't eat this way, that's not true. In fact, you're writing your own menu of excuses. Get real with yourself and face it. When you are ready to feel the goodness of God's recipe for excellent health, there will be no more excuses. There will only be enthusiasm. And enthusiasm in Greek means filled with God. When my grandkids say, I can't, I scrunch up my face and I just put my hands to my ears and I say, ouch, that hurts my ears. And I teach them they can. Remember, check your enthusiasm. Check it out and to experience the real you. The you filled with God. Question number 2. Can you do the Daniel fast if you're breastfeeding? This was submitted by Tammy. Totally, 100% yes. This is very healthy eating plan. The fiber, the protein content is completely nourishing for breastfeeding moms. And then you add in all the vegetables and you have the happiest baby with no constipation problem. Let's throw that in. And the Daniel fast is not about lesser quantity of food. It is about better quality. The quantity is kept to the satisfied limit. Now keep in mind, vegetables have water, yet you still need to drink ample amount of water all day long to prevent dehydration. So when a mom eats well, the letdown of milk is greatly enhanced and it improves her chances of successful lactation. I can get that out. There is one note of concern though, and that is about the fats in the diet. And the Daniel fast can be limited unless you plan it out really well. So make sure the diet has plenty of coconut oil, olive oil, and avocados. These fats raise the DHA concentration in the breast milk, and they always take a good multivitamin as well. Now, for my daughter and daughter-in-law, I recommended a double dose of the multivitamin during pregnancy and while nursing. A vitamin status to see is vitamin K. Make sure that's in your multi. Now, today, most hospitals are giving babies a vitamin K shot. Now, this isn't necessary because the mom's body is going to supply it, and the clotting factor will be at the most ideal level on day 8. That's biblical, as definitely by God's design. Yet on the Daniel fast, eating lots of healthy greens is also going to make sure the baby's getting a good supply of vitamin K. Now, if you're concerned about calcium, then a calcium supplement is a good option. Calcium is found in most of God-designed vegetables, yet we can get into trouble when we eat a processed diet. Now, this is a really good question. And actually, the only issue to be concerned about during pregnancy and lactation is vaccines. Thank you for asking this question. Question number 3. During the time when you were fighting cancer, did you follow the Daniel fast for a longer length of time in order to see the breakthroughs in your health? This was submitted by Cheryl. Okay, so I can see why this question is worded as such, and that is because I have not been really clear of our timeline and the characters in our story. So let me start with this. The family member in our household that had cancer did not follow the Daniel fast. We used the Daniel fast after treatment was passed by 2 years. We moved to Richmond, and then the lab work started to escalate and show problems again in every area, and that is when we implemented the Daniel fast. There has been no sign of cancer in either my husband or I since we started tracking our blood work intentionally, and I'm really strong about this. I really want to preach that fact. Now, my mom had cancer, which I share in the cruciferous video, and how eating healthy, very similar to the Daniel fast, helped her to outlive the diagnosis by 14 years. Now, even the doctor who cared for her was a physician friend of mine that I had worked with previously in the oncology unit. And through that personal friendship, he really helped me see what the possibilities were, yet he never understood why she outlived every belief he had. And even though he would not contribute it to her diet, he still knew she was doing more than most people to want to live. We used the Daniel fast to break through with cholesterol, heart disease, and obesity, depression, and many other health problems, but we weren't doing it during the cancer battle. Now, my personal battle with cancer is not a true battle as many people who are diagnosed. In 2010, I had surgery for a collapsed lung, and the chemical they use to seal the lung causes cancer. That was a hard argument. So I test regularly to make sure my numbers are not going up. And when they do start to go up, it's usually because I'm goofing off and eating foods I shouldn't and stop caring about my health. So I always have my blood work checked, and then I change back to God's design and God's recipe and the supplements that I take, and then I test again in 3 months, and it usually comes back into with normal limits. The key to eating during and following cancer is to discover the right diet for you. Pray about God's direction and then stick to it. Stop surfing the internet. It only serves confusion. Switching from keto to paleo to Mediterranean, then back again in the Daniel fast, it creates fatigue in the brain, and typically people give up. The Daniel fast is very healthy, and so is fasting. Find what is best for you, and then trust your decision. Thanks for asking. Question number 4. I watched a few videos on YouTube, and making the change seems a bit overwhelming. We eat out a lot. Is it possible to eat out and stick to the plan? This is submitted by Beth Ann. Well, let me ask, what is your greatest desire? Eat out, or be healthy, or both? And then I would ask, why is that your answer? And the benefit of the inner circle is we get to have a back and forth conversation to help you discover for yourself what's best. And it's not always what I say that is best. As I shared in the Treasures DVDs, the one who controls your food controls your health. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, that's a choice. It's a fear, typically it's a fear of giving up something that you rely on or you gain satisfaction with. I teach in the 7 steps and in the 40-day transformation, write down all of your concerns and then ask if you want the results that you've been getting for the last couple of years. Do you want that to continue? Let's take, for instance, what result do you get currently with eating out often? Are you at the best weight? Are you feeling great? Do you wake up energized and ready for an amazing day? Well, if you continue eating out often, will that serve your life best? Now, I'm not saying eating out is right or wrong. I'm asking you, is it working for you? If not, then perhaps learning how to make time to cook, a crock pot is excellent to replace the restaurant. Doing this, you're going to discover, maybe I don't need to eat out as much. Maybe I need to change the restaurants I'm eating out at, or maybe I just need to have peace at cooking at home again. I get it. Before we did the Daniel fast, I was working full-time outside the home, and because I was bringing in another income, it was easier to eat out more often, and that way you come home and you don't have cleanup. I get it. I totally get it. But it wasn't serving us the results we wanted. So that's what I want to ask you. The question's really yours, not mine. Are you getting the results you want? And are these the results that are going to lead you to the life you want to enjoy the rest of your life? If not, then pray about the decision. Pray about that word overwhelming and ask God to replace it with a word that brings more contentment. Thanks for asking that. You are not the first person to ask that question, and yet many people have that question. They're so glad you asked. Question number 5, how to prepare and eat healthy meals for myself and my family without being obsessed about meal planning and prep. This was submitted by Teresa. Again, Teresa, let's look at our options. First, this can be a change. I had to recook every food I made. What? Rice takes how long to cook if it's not instant? Cooking beans that's not from a can, that takes forever. Well, these were learning curves that I was willing to overcome. I used to put hamburger helper on the table in 10 minutes or less. I could stretch that with a can of beans or a ton of cheese. We lived on cheese. Yet then I decided my family needed a better future. So out with the standard meals, hamburger helper, that was gone. Tostino's pizza, that's gone. Aldi corn dogs in the fridge, hot dogs, beans, totally gone. Did my family complain? Well, my son did. Those were his favorites. Yet he was also 18 and he decided moving out more quickly was what he wanted to do. And then moving on to cooking healthy, I was willing to see a better future. I was working outside the home, like I said earlier, full time, and yes, we were eating out more frequently. Yet those results were not serving us, so change was necessary. Now, I love to cook, and when I have time to enjoy it, it's so much better. And I was willing to take the time to learn to cook from scratch. This was not a far stretch for me. I took 7 years of home ec. If you wonder how I got 7 years, I started in junior high and took it all the way into college. I was not foreign to cooking. Yet even still, I was willing to make the change without it bothering me or letting it become a stress factor. I was looking forward to the results. I knew in my heart, I can do this, and I'm going to love the journey. And that's the difference. Determine in your heart what this new direction in your journey is going to be like. What's it going to look like? How are you going to feel? Did every food taste great? No, not at all. And I do not believe in throwing food away, yet I did. Because it's like, that was awful. I don't know what I did wrong, but that's horrible. And it's also why we came up with the Healthy Treasures Cookbook, because I needed recipes to win my family over. And they aren't recipes that are that foreign. They're very common recipes that you might be used to. We just switched out some of the ingredients to make it healthier. And that's why it's a win-win recipe book. But yet also in that cookbook are recipes on how to do things from scratch, making your own refried beans. Okay, if you haven't made that yet, you need to go check it out. I will pour in a lot more chili powder and cumin because that's just the bomb recipe. And if you ever got to feed a big crowd and you want to feed them up full, get them nice and full, the refried bean recipe is excellent. And then from there you make the nacho casserole. Oh, it's just like, wow, these things are great. I learned to love healthy food and I needed to win my family over. So check out the Healthy Treasures Cookbook, try a new recipe every week, and I have a feeling you're going to change your mindset. You're going to learn how to be content doing this, and it's going to make a big difference. So thank you for watching. Let me just share with you, we have courses. We have a whole academy just for you, Biblical Nutrition Academy, with courses ready for you to take to understand God's recipe for excellent health. Courses on eating, praying, and fasting. You might be overwhelmed because there's so much to learn. Just take it one course at a time, enjoy it, and then keep moving on. Thanks for watching. And before you leave, be sure and share this video with your friends, your family, your church friends, everyone you know, because we need to help each other gain our health back and stay on mission and gain that passion back that God put in us that we may have forgotten about. I'm Annette Reeder from the Biblical Nutritionist, and I love each one of you, but God loves you even more. Thanks for watching.